Welcome back and good morning, everyone, for another edition of how to have a successful business, a productive business in real estate. All right, so today brings us to day 10 of the 66-day challenge on how to have a productive business in real estate. All right, so number 10 is going to lead us to networking. Okay, we basically have our foundation now. We have our pillars, our systems. We're going to add more to that. But at the same time, we need to build up that database. Okay, so if we're getting bigger, you don't want your agents, like when you start hiring agents to come on in, they're going to have their database. You only want to make hot phone calls. Okay, so you want to create enough leads for your advertising and your marketing. These are the people that are interested in what you're advertising in, whether it's a buyer seminar, listing seminar, whatever. These are the phone calls that you want, plus your database. Your database is always going to be there, especially with your 36 touch and stuff like that. A lot of people don't like making cold calls, but believe it or not, there's a huge amount of, opportunity there between expireds and for sale by owners and stuff like that. We're not going to get into that today. We're going to get into a more powerful one that's above the expireds for sale by owners and even the open houses. The first one I'm going to bring up is called networking. Networking is very, very important, and it's at different levels of where your career is, where your business is. Okay, so let's start off with the individual agent who just got into the business. Okay, so before the technology that we had, if you were a real estate agent, when you walked into the office, first thing, after you getting acclimated, after you got your desk and all that stuff, your broker would take you over to the map and say, okay, pick your area. Now that area was usually in probably about like a 15-mile radius around the office. Okay, it's called a geographic farm. All right. Well, with that geographic farm, you were able to look up names and phone numbers. I'm not saying that is going to be the network. No, that's cold calling. Networking is if you were to take a district or an area, you want to be part of that area. So one of my first areas was Mayfair in Northeast Philadelphia. Now, Mayfair's pretty huge. You ask anybody from Mayfair, there's East Mayfair, West Mayfair, and Mayfair, Well, with Mayfair, it was a very interactive community. So not only did they have a civic association, they had a business association, they had local state reps in the area. So one of my first things was to become part of my neighborhood. That's where I was from. So the first thing I joined was the Civic Association, and that was kind of eye-opening. I'm thinking, hey, it's going to be positive. We're going to ask questions. This is going to be great. Now, it was pretty negative. Probably about 90% of the information that came out of the people in the audiences were negative, and the other 10% were the answers that were negative. I'm like, oh, we got to turn this into a solution-based, positive area. So over the next couple of months, we kind of did that. We always led being solution based. What was a total 180 was when I joined the business district, the business networking group for Mayfair. Not only did I get to meet the other small businesses from the pretzel shop owners all the way up to the banks. I think Republic Bank was over there and stuff like that. And these were people that had a fountain of knowledge on how, and it wasn't like, hey, they had their problems, don't get me wrong, but 90% of that conversation was positive, how to grow the community, blah, blah, blah. So you can't be, when you go to a networking meeting, you cannot be that person that's just going to sit back, hand out business cards. You got to get the lay of the land. Who's here? How many members are here? What's the agenda? What are people getting ready for? Are they getting ready for the Thanksgiving Day parade, or are they, trying to get their streets, repaved, stuff like that. By you having this knowledge, now you can do one of three things. Number one, you're going to go back to your constituents. Constituents is a term that state representatives use for people in their area. We do the same thing. If you have a geographic farm, these are my constituents. I serve these people. I don't ask for anything. If they want to list their house, if they want one of my services, that's fine. But I want to lead with contribution. So whatever I get from these two networking meetings, I can now pass it off to my geographic farm, or I can walk the area, talk to other business owners, and two things: update them on what's going on in the area. Hey, I'm just letting you know we're trying to pass a bill to get this repaved, blah blah blah. So you might want to plan for alternative parking, stuff like that, and then you can show the value of joining if they're not already a member of the business association. So they can go into there. So that's one, and as you could tell, if that's the first one, wow, that's a lot, right? Yeah, it is. And this is if you do it right. So you can either do it that way and get business, make relationships. I guarantee you, if you do it that way, right off the bat, you're going to add 10 to 15 strong people into your database. And every single meeting, you're at least going to average 3 to 5 people that are going to go into your database. Now, you have to tag them the right way and stuff like that. So what other networking? Well, Mike, my area doesn't have a business networking area or a civic association. There is. There's going to be plenty of areas that are not, supportive of one, or Chamber of Commerce's. So Chamber of Commerce is a huge one. So when I was talking Mayfair is in a small area. But when you join the Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce, the Gloucester County Chamber of Commerce, Camden Chamber of Commerce, every township has one. You just have to find it. And when you join it, you become a member. You can't be that person that's going to be sitting at the table just waiting for people to talk to you. Don't break out your iPad or iPhone and start working. This is not the time to work. This is the time to meet people, create relationships, see what they do, how you can help them. So if you are leading with contribution, one of my first things is when I introduce myself, I ask them, what's your name and all that. So what's your claim to fame? What are you doing? What are you doing? And why are you doing? What new product do you have? What new product do you have that I should be talking to my database about? What's your ideal client? And then from that conversation, they're going to ask you the same questions, and you're going to build relationships. There's all different types of meetings. You have your happy hours. If you go to these places at the happy hours where you're not going to have a quiet conversation, or you're always going to be bumping into people, go in there with an agenda. What's my 3 main questions that I want to ask everybody? How can I make an impact and not be that person that just hands business cards out? Another networking events is now agents. If you're franchise, this is going to be better for you. If you're a mom and pop boutique shop, might be a little hard. So you might be limited on the events. But I know with Keller Williams, we're always having an event. We're always having something. I'm like, why would I want to talk to agents already in my biz or in my franchise? Shouldn't I be recruiting other people? Okay, we're not here to recruit. We're here to network. So if I'm talking to somebody in another area like Langhorne, Cape May, Burlington, I want to know what's going on in the area. I mean, instead of me going back and wasting an hour and doing some research and catching up on the news, I'm talking to one of the top producers and I'm finding out what's going on, So networking also goes on a minor level of text threads, okay? When you were in high school, who were the top 5 to 7 people that you always hung out with? Can you just picture them? Just go back to your senior year, your junior year, whatever, and think of the top 5 people that you always hung out with. Went to the fast food places, hung out at class or after class, football games, stuff like that, parties. Don't hang with them anymore, do you? Or at least they're dwindled to 3, maybe 4. Okay. For the people that went to college or the people that went to trade schools and stuff like that, next 5 years, who are the 5 to 7 people? Are you hanging out with them today? Probably not. You're probably only hanging out with maybe 3 to 4 of them. Okay? So what I'm getting at is when you grow, so does your mind, so does your career, everything grows. You think differently now than you did when you were 18, when you were 24, when you were 30. Okay? You need to have a circle of influence around you, okay? The best way to identify who these people are, look at your plan. Look at your plan, whether it's a 1 year or a 5 year plan, preferably a 5 year plan. Take that 5 year plan and sit back and think to yourself, who here has already achieved this or some of this, like a category? Like if you want to be debt free, who do I know that's debt free? If I want to make $1 million in 1 year, who has made $1 million in 1 year? Does not have to be in the same career field. However, it helps. Some things that don't have to be in the same career field, like say you want passive income, say you want 10 sources of passive income. Who here is killing it with passive income? Okay. And you want to create your own little circle there. And you want to find a way to meet and greet. Be upfront and honest. I'm always upfront. I go up to them and say, hey, look, I see what you do. One of my goals is to have 8 streams of passive income. If you don't mind me asking, how many do you have? 12. Would you mind guiding me? Would you mind helping me? You know, would steer me in the right direction? Where did you start off at? And by you creating these relationships, guess what's going to happen? Your name is going to be more popular in their head. They're going to be thinking of you. So this way, when their neighbor, friends of the family, whatever, says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. Oh, dude, I got this go-getter, Mike Fitzpatrick. Yeah, I'm actually helping him with getting him his passive income. You got to give him a shot. And that's what it's about, creating relationships. But you've got to network. You've got to create your own little networking group. So just to recap, you can have a small networking group in your phone. I wouldn't do that, though. I mean, that's great. Only do this if you plan on at least meeting once a month. Okay, so it's great to have somebody if you want to throw a question out there. That's great. But this is not the major source of communication with because it just shows that you really don't care too much about them. Meet them. Get out there. You know, see what they look like. See how they talk. You know, see what they have to offer. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are the things that you can help them with? You know, and then you have the ones that, hey, COVID's over. Let's go back to shaking hands. Let's go back to meeting people. You got the business networking meetings. You got the civic associations. You got the Chamber of Commerce's. There's just so many out there. But the most important thing with all these is that you identify who you want to talk with. You identify what my plan is. Is my plan here just to get a free breakfast and take off? Go through the drive-thru. Go grab something. Is my job... It's my intention to meet 5 people and put 3 people in my database. Okay, great. Why would someone want to go into your database? Why would somebody want to talk to you? Have a game plan. Role play your scripts. All right, I'm going to leave it for today. If you guys have any questions, you know how to reach me. 267-549-2505. If you have any real estate, mortgage, title, even business opportunities, give me a call. 267-549-2505.